Hi everyone, welcome back to Box of Delights and welcome to this demonstration of Legends Untold, the Illumination of Deepsorrow. This is a prototype and is a new standalone story campaign for the original Legends Untold. I've shown you this before with a video. This is the Weeping Caves novice set. Although it's standalone, you can mix these together. I'm not going to do that for you today because I want to make sure you're only seeing new content. But do be aware you can mix in Weeping Caves. You can also mix in Great Sewers. So this was Weeping Caves. I don't have Great Sewers, but there was another novice set as well called Great Sewers. You can mix in both, either or neither. It's up to you. There's also a new expansion called Potions and Preparations, which again, you can mix in with this set, the old sets, either of the old sets, however you want to do it. I will show you this actually. We'll have a quick look at it's this one. We'll come back to this one at the end because although we could mix it in, I want it to be clear what's coming in the basic set in the Illumination of Deepsorrow. All right. So here we go. But you can have a quick look inside now if you wish. But there's tons of new stuff in here. We'll come back to that at the end, and we'll see what comes in this set. Okay. I don't want to get too much into the rules. I've done a rules playthrough before. There are some cosmetic improvements that they've done, some additional tokens and so on with this set. It's a much bigger box as well, so you can use this to contain all your existing content if you wish. All right, let's get straight into the playthrough. Let's set up and begin our adventure. This is our contents, like a content almanac. Rulebook. We've got a how to play guide, so this is like a tutorial. We won't be needing that today. We've got a reference guide, which is really cool. These are timing sheets and little flow charts so you can check you're doing everything correct. But alongside those, there is the Illumination of Deepsorrow campaign guide. So this version does introduce a few new concepts. So we've got a great set of story pages to read that sets up the campaign. Got some setup rules. This tells you how there's 12 different scenarios, how in the first 6 scenarios you're in the sewers and in the second you're in the caves. So you'll combine sewers and Deepsorrow cards or caves and sewer cards. There's a section that describes how to combine the two sets together. But we've got clue cards as well. So as you're progressing, you'll be finding clues. And as you discover clues, there's little story parts to uncover. So this campaign, these 12 scenarios linked together, has this very thick campaign book with clues. Okay. So we'll see that. So there is a little bit of spoilers in the playthrough, but we're only going to do the first scenario. I don't want to spoil things too much though, so we won't play through the whole scenario. Perhaps we'll just play through the first half of the scenario. So scenario 1 is what we're going to start with. And what's interesting too is you've got this campaign progress tracker sheet. So here's one printed out. You can tick off your progress through 12 scenarios. Okay, great stuff. There's a couple of new concepts in Deepsorrow. You've got a shock deck, which is a new type of damage that can be done with effects that the shock incurs, and you've got a token that represents the treasure deck. So a couple of new concepts. We'll set those up for our adventure. We're going to be playing solo, and playing solo you've got choice. You can either play just one hero as kind of a lone wolf, or you can play multi-handed, which is what I'm going to do today. There are different difficulty modes, so they're explained in the back of the rulebook. And if you don't fancy the campaign, you can just play a custom adventure where you're just trying to explore as deeply into the caves or sewers before your time runs out. Okay, let's do campaign scenario number 1. Your journey across the Wrathlands has been long and difficult, but you've arrived at the ruined city of Deepsorrow. You learn from a trader in the Kanani port of Agadir that the sewers had a central control room known as the wheel room, where maps and controls for the sewer system would be kept. If you can find a way to this wheel room, you might be able to find a way to use the ancient systems of the sewers to go deeper beneath Deepsorrow. Here we are then, here's our party. We are in the collapsed streets of Deepsorrow. Our objective is to travel into the sewers and find the wheel room. I've chosen a party of two. We have an envoy and an initiate. I'm not sure that they're the most adept at travelling these adventures, but the envoy is armed with a worn crossbow. The initiate has no weapons but has cowrie shells, which begin with a focus token that help her resist damage. We've got some skills and weapon talents to help us in our adventure. We'll get into this as we get going. The scenario helped us set up, so we know that we've got 6 locations. We've started at the collapsed street. The wheel room is in the bottom half of the location deck. We had an adventure deck, which is this one, of 6 foes, 8 discoveries, 3 booby traps, 8 loot, and 4 clues, 2 red and 2 green. We've got 6 time. That's the amount of time we have in the event deck here. So we can't hang about. First thing we want to do is choose a marching order. So we've got the envoy doing rear guard duties, and the initiate is the scout up front. They're leading the way. We do want to get her a weapon. I've chosen just the starting stuff on the bottom here, bottom left of the hero card. It tells you what they should begin with. Here's our party then. On the starting location, ignore all the icons. All right, imagine they're blank. These are going to be referenced if we came into this location. The green environment ones, they still apply, but anything like these barriers and so on, treat it like a blank one. This would be a pathway icon linking sets together, different locations in different types of environments. But we're ignoring those icons and choosing an exit. So let's say we decide to go this way. There's an exit here, and an exit here. This is a bright exit with a full sun. This is an ambient exit with half moon. This readiness tracker here has some tokens, so you can place if you're going into dark or bright, and the default being ambient. You can use these tokens to kind of change the way this readiness tracker leads you through the turn. So we're ambient. Then we get to choose a pace. Do we want to sneak in there quietly? Do we want to rush in there, or just march in regularly? That's the regular march. So marching costs a time, sneaking costs 2 time, rushing costs no time. But we do get a penalty on scouting and surprise checks. Now, a scout does have the Sandwalker talent. It says, this icon says drain. Drain means we flip it and then we can't use it again until it's healed. Drain, the party pays 1 less time to sneak when scouting. So why don't we consider using this? We're going to sneak in. So we're going to spend 2 time to sneak into this location, but 1 less. We're going to use 1 time, which is the same as marching. Okay, but it does drain this card, obviously. Cards like these talents are multi-use, so using it for Cloud of Sand means we've lost these other abilities. Meanwhile, effectively we're marching in at normal speed, but we've summoned up a Cloud of Sand to kind of make it appear like we're sneaking. Right, let's draw a location card and see where we go. We've come upon the hydraulics room. We're looking for the footprints, and it's ambient. We're looking for this skill, which is this skill test. This difficulty is 10. So we match the footprints to the exit we are leaving from. The lighting is ambient. We've got to do now a scouting check of difficulty 10. And this will now determine our alertness, whether we've entered alert, bold, or careless. Right, the scout rolls 3d6. We're looking for a 10. We're sneaking in, so we get a +2 on our die roll. If we'd rushed in, it would be a -2 penalty. So have we been able to sneak in alert to any dangers up ahead? We got 5, 11, 13, +2, 15. We're good. So because we beat it by 4 or more, we are alert. We now spend time, so sneaking would cost 2 time, but we're going to drain Cloud of Sand and only pay 1 time. So let's turn face down. Now we've got a limited amount of time, and that's given by this event deck. Remember, the scenario told us to place 6 event cards in this deck. Spending 1 time discards a card. Right, so we're going to remove that. We won't look at it, we'll keep it face down. That's now out. Okay. Now before we can progress any further, there's an obstacle here blocking our way. We can't get into the room without breaking through or passing this obstacle. Let's see what it is. It is a corpse beehive. So we've snuck in through our cloud of sand. There's a beehive here. The strange stench of death mixed with the sweetness of nectar assails your nostrils. You hear buzzing. Now there are some icons here to help us. The top one says if we're careless, this is the careless icon, we will receive a -2 penalty, and the next one says if we're alert, which we are, we get a +2 to any test on this card. This is a trial, and it says each hero must test either throw, balance, identify. The next icon says we add an environment token to the current location. This one is insects. All right, there's an insects icon lining up alongside these other ones. It may make a difference if we have other effects that bounce off those types of icons, right? So for example, the envoy here has ancient lore. They gain +2 on a test in a location with an ancient icon. This test has animal ken speciality. This one here. None of us have mastery of that speciality. I don't think this one did. This one had a speciality in gemology, but we've drained it, so it doesn't count for anything. But we got a +2 because we're sneaking. Let's start with the scout. She's out first, so why don't we have the initiate do a test first. So we can either throw something at it. That's a test against 12 with a handle skill, which is 1. I think I can edge past it. We can use our do a balance test, which uses grace. She's got a grace of 2 versus 11. Or I've read about these things before. We can use that knowledge. We can use a reason. So test identify using a reason of 2 against 14. This is one's hardest. If we pass, there's no consequences. Balance is going to take 1 time. And it looks like even if we throw something at the nest, we'll get poisoned. So that doesn't look great. Each hero must do this. I don't think we've got anything else. Mason's Law we've got. Okay, this one says gain +1 to identify reason tests for your current test. You can increase that bonus by +1 for each focus tokens that's spent. So actually we could use Mason's Law because this is an identify reason. So let's do that. So that's +1 +2 by using that token. +2 from the sneak, that's a +4. Plus my ability reason of 2, that's +6. So we're looking for 14 with a +6. That's pretty good. 9, 10, 11, +6, 17. Okay, so initiate has succeeded. And actually we've got 18 because of the alertness bonus on the beehive. But more than that, exceeded by 2 or more is a critical success on a party basic test. The envoy, because we've got a critical success on a party basic test, another hero who's yet to attempt the test automatically succeeds without rolling. That's a critical success. Okay, so notice this one wasn't a drain. Mason's Law wasn't a drain. This is called an exhaust, and an exhaust means our specialities are still available. All right, so we're both successful. There's no consequences. We've made it through and past this obstacle. This is discarded, and our party makes it through. I'm going to place that here. We don't have to face that obstacle again. Now we have to look at these here, and there is a discovery. Discoveries come from the adventure deck, so we'll draw cards until we draw a discovery. That's a loot. There we go, a discovery. Okay. A group of brownies stand in front of you. Trade your gifts, one says, a twinkle in his eye. One hero must test either persuade with charm at +0 or coerce with will at -2. And this is a stage test, so we can perform it multiple times to move up this series of outcomes. So the envoy is the most charming. They have 3. We have a will of 1. And we've got a will of 2 and a charm of 1. So I think the envoy, but let's have a look at the skills. There's no specialization on this one. It does give us a +1 if we are alert, which we are. We could discard a loot for a +2, it says. Now this loot here is our reward. That's what will be gained in addition to this once the encounter is resolved. Remember, all tests are 3d6. So we'll have the envoy. They're going to use their charm to do a persuade at +0. We've got +1. We don't have any loot that we can discard. We've not found any loot just yet. So +1 from alertness. +3 charm is +4. And we're looking for 11 of 3 dice. 8, 9, 10, +4, that's 14. So we've passed the first stage. And we can move up to the next row. Okay, the next one wants a 14. So we can either stop here, the brownies vanish from in front of you, or we can try and gain a loot item from the discard pile. We can push up one more. We need 14 for this. Ooh, let's go again, shall we? Let's push on. If we fail, we drop down and we gain a shock and a poison, all heroes. Let's push up. We need 14, so we want 10 from the roll. Remember, we've got +3, +1, we've got +4. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've just got it. That's 14. We've moved up to the next one. Okay. You gain a loot from the next one, and then the next one is a treasure, which is from our treasure deck. Now, our treasure deck contains all loot, not heavy loot. And there's a token on here that tells you 8 loot and 2 booby traps. I think we're going to stop here. You can have this thing we found. It says gain a loot item from the discard pile. Well, let's just check. Is there a loot item in the discard pile? No, there isn't. There is no discard pile just yet. Maybe we need to push on one more. I think we will. Let's try and push on. We want 16, so we want 12 from this roll. Let's go one more time. 5, 9, 10, 14. Ah, we failed. All right. Gain a loot. We failed this one, so we drop back down. Now, not got a gift for you, the brownie looters say, and the brownies vanish from in front of you, and this is discarded. All right, we failed. But we do get to keep this one, the Scarab Beetle Ring. Loot items are shared between the party. And there's no limit to the number of loot items. They can be freely exchanged between party members at all times. So let's just keep these down here. A bronze and ivory ring stamped with a symbol of rebirth. It seems to bend the veil between life and death ever so slightly. Okay, exploration phase now. So we can explore the hydraulics room, see what we can find here. As we enter this room, we should draw a token for this one, and then here is a barrier. So we draw a barrier card, and this reveals some ancient steps. We'll come back to this later. We could search around the hydraulics room. This is what this search icon's for. Potentially we'll find some loot. We can either do a careful search or a quick search. In either case, we'll draw 2 cards, but if we do a careful search, it'll cost us 1 time, but we can ignore booby traps. If we do a quick search, it costs us no time, but booby traps may fire. Let's gamble and do a quick search. So our party is going to do a quick search. We draw 2 cards. There might be nothing in here. So if we draw 2 foes, for example, then we found nothing. They just get discarded. But if we draw any booby traps, they are going to hit us. Loot, clues, those we get to keep, but any other cards we'll discard. Right, let's see what we find. We've got some water worms. It is some loot. So gain this card with 2 supply tokens on it and discard it when none are left. There's 2 supplies, so these tokens are double-sided. It requires the flooded environment icon or location icon, and the hero gains a water worm ally until the end of the combat, and a water worm ally, the hero gains advantage on their melee attacks until they receive a wound, and then reduce the damage received by 1 and lose this ally. Okay. Right, this we get to keep. Now what's the second? The second loot, hopefully another loot. Oh, it's a clue. It's a red clue. When you resolve this card, reference the clue section of your current episode and read the corresponding clue in the campaign guide. Incidentally, there is a reference chart here. It tells you what all of these icons means. Okay. I don't remember these things. So let's go to our campaign guide. We're searching around the hydraulics room. Red clue number 1. First one you resolve is clue number 20. So here we go. Spoiler alert. You find what looks like a giant beehive that's been smashed to pieces and the bodies of several cat-sized bees dead around it. There must have been quite a disturbance here at some point, as there is a great deal of blood scattered around the place, enough to suggest serious wounds on many warriors. More bees then. Okay, it says if you want to stay and investigate the beehives, spend a time and read clue 136. Otherwise, continue the adventure. I wonder if this will help us in this. I don't know. There's lots of insects around this hydraulics room. Do we want to investigate these bees? Well, we've managed to avoid spending a lot of time so far, but I'm a little bit nervous about these bees. Let's do it. We're going to read clue 136. So we will step through the book. Here we go. Clue 136. You look at the large beehives and their dead protectors. Inside many of the hives, you find the bodies of rats and other small creatures. It looks like the giant bees were using the corpses for sustenance for their young. One hero may make an identify reason basic test with Animal Ken versus 13. Okay, this is just like we did when we had the bee's nest obstacle. So the initiate, oh no, they can't use this now because this is exhausted. Let's do it. So it's identify, and one of our heroes does it with reason. I was kind of expecting a battle at this point, but it isn't. We're going to go and investigate. Well, let's try it, shall we? So it's reason versus 13. Well, they both got reason. Well, reason 2. So we'll need 11 off these dice. There's no bonuses because we've used this. I mean, there is a jack of all trades here, which says gain mastery on any party basic test. All right, this isn't a party basic test, so that can't help us. All right, let's just do it. Let's just do it. We've got reason 2. It's a difficulty 13. We need 11 off these dice. We got it. 11, 12. Just 12 squeezed. Success. You managed to recover some corpse bee honey. One hero may drink the honey to heal for 1 health. Okay. Well, the health in this game is your talents, so the initiate can heal one of their talents. Brilliant. You have to be careful with your talents because talents are your health. So when you take damage, you drain a talent. You can choose which one. And if all your talents are drained, you become unconscious. If all party members are unconscious, you lose the game. So that's how damage works in this game. So these are like our health. We've got 3 health each right now. Remember, these are just level 1 heroes. We're starting out the campaign. Every time we complete an adventure, we level up. That means we can upgrade something like a weapon. So we could upgrade the crossbow. This is an upgraded crossbow. Or we can gain a new talent. So moving to level 2 gives you an upgrade. Moving to level 3 gives you a talent. Okay, 4 upgrade and so on and so on. And all the way up. So we're starting at level 1. So an upgrade will allow you to upgrade a weapon or select a new weapon, an item of equipment, or an outfit. Okay, red clue is discarded out of the game. I think that's all we have to do, right? And it also says whether we succeed or fail, gain 1 level on the people and creatures track. So I need to show you this. This is where we look at our campaign tracker. You can get a printable copy, but people and creatures story track unlocked with red clues will now tick off number 1. Okay. Right, that clue cost us 1 time, so we do have to draw and discard 1 more card from this deck. So we're down to just 4 time now. We should probably push on. Now we've finished exploring this or searching this, we flip this token over. That's now searched. We can't search there again. And we could, if we wanted to, go and investigate this barrier. Remember, there were some ancient steps here. There's a potential for losing some time. It does say to add a mechanical and a flood to this location, but it already has mechanical and flood, so we don't need to add them. This other icon says if we have light, we receive a +2 to this test, but we don't have a light. We've not found a torch or anything like that. I think in the interest of time, we're going to push on, ignore this barrier. And we do have some tokens to help us here. So there's some number tokens. We can put number 1 next to this barrier and number 1 on this card, and that reminds us what's where as we map around. Because if we come back to this room, we could decide to come back this way. But for now, that's the exploration phase completed. Let's move into the rest phase. All heroes restore their exhausted talents. And we can, if we wish, we could camp, time permitting. But we do notice there's something here on the cowrie shells. Add 1 focus token to this card at the start of the rest phase. So our initiate gets her focus back from her cowrie shells. Let's move on to turn 2. I think we're going to head up this way where it's dark, possibly quickly. We lost a little bit of time back here, so I think we're going to rush in here. We get -2 on scouting and surprise tests, but because it's dark, there's a +2 to surprise tests. Let's draw a location and where are the footsteps. They're here. There's another obstacle in the way. We've arrived at some pony stables. Okay. Difficulty of 12. Let's see how our alertness goes. There's a -2 on this die roll. because we rushed. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's a 9 here. We failed the alertness check, so we are careless. Traps and booby traps are automatically triggered, and foes are potentially going to get the jump on us. So this is bad news. Let's see what happens. Adventure phase. Let's resolve this obstacle. And it is Dice of the Gods. Massive cubes levitate and dance over the water. The runes inscribed upon them are truly ancient. We need to add an ancient and flood location to the pony stables. We'll add those. And one hero must test either to solve, leap, or climb these massive levitating cubes. Well, our envoy has ancient lore, a skill talent that we can use for all tests in this location, since there's now an ancient specialization up here. So yeah, I think the envoy is going to face this one, and we're going to start by exhausting the Versed in Ancient Texts talent. It gives us +2 on a test in a location with the ancient icon. And I think I'd like to do this solve using my reason. My reason is 2. It is a 16 check. If I did climb, whether I succeed or fail, it's going to be 1 time lost. I could leap using my grace. My grace is only 1. I think we're going to reason. If I fail though, I've lost 2 times, so it is a gamble. Reasons 2. We've got +2. We need a 12 on the die roll. It is a gamble. Right, let's see what happens. We've rolled, so wow, that's a great roll. 6, 12, 14. We've made it. And we are past this barrier, and we've gained a time. Okay. Place the time back. We can push on through. Now that's a bit of a result. If we hadn't pushed through, then we would have had to have retreated. We'd have lost some more time there. We've made it into the room. We can't explore yet though, because there is a foe in here. We're going to have to draw a foe. So let's continue to draw from the adventure deck till we reveal a foe. We've got a loot. We'll set loot cards aside. These are things that those foes are potentially dropping if we defeat them. Discovery cards are discarded. We've got a trap. Ouch. Deadly blooms. Booby traps are resolved immediately. And then we'll have to keep pushing through. This is what we get for rushing in here. So Deadly Blooms is triggered. All heroes must make a brute check using our brawn against 13. Any hero that fails must exhaust one of their talents. Let's do the initiate first. Now we could gain mastery here by exhausting Jack of all trades. Gain mastery on a party test. If you gain a critical success, then make it a normal success. So difference between a test with mastery is normally you roll 3 dice. If you get mastery, then you roll 4 dice and remove the lowest. And then if you exceed the test by 2 or more, then another hero who's yet to take the test in the party can automatically get a success. But this says make it a normal success instead, so that effect doesn't apply. But I've just realized the consequence of failing this is that we exhaust one of our talents. So exhausting this to succeed is kind of defeating the object, right? So we may as well just forget that. Let's just push our luck. So we want 13 off a brawn of 2. We need 11 on the dice. We're not using any of our skills. And we've missed. So yeah, that didn't work anyway. Now we've got Wisdom of the Ancients. So we could use this to re-roll, but what's the point? Right, we're going to have to exhaust one. I think we'll exhaust Stonewalker. I think that makes the most sense. Okay, Envoy now. Envoy doesn't have anything he can do to improve this die roll. So again, Brawn of 2 against 13. We need 11 off the dice. 6, 7, 8, and they also failed. Wow, that was nasty. That nasty, intoxicating scent. All right, let's push on. We're still looking for a foe. We've got another loot. And there we are, a Gold Warrior Goblin. First thing we must do then is make a surprise test. The foe has an alertness of 12. We've got +2 from entering the dark. We've got -2 from rushing. So that puts us back at 12. There's no modifications for attributes or specialities. So we're looking for a 12 off 3 dice. It's a 10. We failed. And the party is surprised. So we've got 2 results here. Foes are surprised, heroes are surprised, or no surprise. We gain disadvantage and ranged foes gain advantage in the engagement round. All right. We've stumbled in here. These Gold Warriors have surprised us. First thing we want to do is check what type of foe it is. Looking at this red icon here, the Gold Warrior is a melee foe. So we're going to flip this mat to the melee foe side. Then we check the number of foes that we face. We've got a party of 2 heroes, so we face 3 Gold Warriors. The second stat here is their breakpoint. This is when, if they're reduced to 1 foe, so from 3 down to 1, they will flee. But it says in the bottom, if in a location with the mammal's environment icon, reduce the creature's morale breakpoint to 0. There is the mammal's icon here. That means these guys are never going to flee. These deep goblin warriors stand guard over the cave lairs, deep beneath the ground. These Gold Warriors are normally down in the caves, so they've come up into the sewers to try to defend their caves, it seems. We also have tokens for our heroes. And where we place them depends on the weapons we're going to choose. Now our envoy has a crossbow, so he's going to go up here in ranged. The initiate doesn't have a weapon, so they're going to be using their knife in the melee zone. And what you'll notice is there's 3 foes and 1 of us in the melee spot. Even if we chose to put the envoy here with them and melee with a knife, they still outnumber us. So we've got a token here to remind us the foes outnumber us, and that's going to apply some modifiers when we get down here. A quick check on our foe as well shows they've only got 1 health. So each of these tokens with a heart token comes with an inherent 1 health. We've only got to hit this thing 1 time, or each of these foes 1 time to defeat them. And remember too, the heroes were surprised, so we're going to get a disadvantage token. So we get a -2 modifier on our next roll. And the envoy can actually cancel that out because they've got a focus shot talent that says gain advantage on your next ranged attack this turn. We are ranged. Advantage and disadvantage cancel each other out, so gaining advantage gets rid of that token. And the initiate has got this spare throwing knife. I think we might just use this. Make a ranged attack with the knife profile. You still retain your original knife. So we exhaust this. And let's move the initiate into the ranged position as well. The good news is ranged attackers go first, and that's us, not them. So who should we have go first? Let's have the envoy go first. So we're firing our crossbow. An attack is a test. We're rolling 3d6. We don't have any talents left. So it's a simple 3d6 to get our result. There are modifiers, so you can see ranged attacks get a +0, melee attacks get a -1. So it's 3 dice with no modifiers. Let's see what we get. High is good. We've got a 12. A 12 is not great. We look at this chart. So we'd need a 13 to hit, a 14 for a critical hit. So the only result we've got is an 11. This spearhead means we push an enemy back. The next attacker, which is our hero, gets advantage. So it's helped a little bit. The initiate gets advantage. She's currently disadvantaged, so we remove that token. And now our initiate goes. So she's using a knife as a throwing weapon. Not any modifiers. So let's roll. 12 is advantage. I'm going to place an advantage token up here to remind me this fact. Next, melee heroes attack. We don't have any. Melee creatures do not make their own attack in their step. This is really important. When we're making our ranged attacks, if we roll low on our ranged attack, so for the envoy, if we rolled 8 or less, then the envoy would itself take damage. So these attacks are kind of simultaneous. Okay. But now we're moving into a new round, and the rules have slightly changed. This is no longer the engagement round, all right? This first engagement round, we were able to attack from range. But now, if there are melee foes, we have to engage them. So melee heroes must each pin 1 or 2 different creatures. All creatures must be pinned. So we'll have the initiate pin 2 and then the envoy pin 1. Should we do it this way around? That reflects our stance. Okay. Now the point of pinning is just to get the numbers evened up. All right. Once we've knocked down one of their numbers, then potentially the initiate could pin these 2 and then the envoy could move back to ranged. Okay. But at the moment there's enough of them that they've got us hand to hand. So again, they don't make attacks from themselves. It's just us attacking them. They've got advantage of numbers. So I've got a modifier here, which means there's a chance that we're going to hit ourselves from this. Okay, we're just using our knife. We can't use our crossbow. Let's do the envoy first. We don't have to attack the enemies that we're pinned to. It's just the way it goes. So the next one to go has got advantage. So let's give +2 to the envoy on the die roll. They've got -1 because we're outnumbered. And there's a -1 melee modifier from the gold warrior, remember. We've got a 7 + 5, 12. That's a good roll, but not enough to hit. We need a 14 to hit. But a 12 is advantage. So advantage to the next attack, which is the initiate. We've got 14. Yes, we've got a hit. Finally, the dice are with us anyway. We got 10, 40, 50. Yeah, we got 1 hit, which means we can take out one of these gold warriors. Right, next round. Advantage is lost. The envoy is going to go back to their crossbow. The initiate can pin these 2. Ranged attacks go first, so the envoy is firing their crossbow. Incidentally, the worn crossbow now says always shoots last in range combat except in the engagement round. So during the first round they were able to go first, but they're the only ranged hero. They don't have advantage now, so it's just 3 dice on this crossbow. We're looking for a 13. We've got a 10. A 10 is a miss. This 9 value is the best we can get and is a miss. At least we didn't get hit. Okay, initiate next. And I think we're going to use the water worms. So gain this card with 2 supply on it. Discard it when on our left. It requires water. There is water at this location because we had a token at it. The hero gains a water worm ally until the end of combat. The hero gains advantage on their melee attacks until they receive a wound. So we use one of these. We've got advantage again. So +2, they still outnumber us in melee, so it's a +1 with our knife attack. We've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The +1 is a 10. A 10 is a trade blows, so it's not a miss, it's not advantage, it's not a hit. Both the hero and the foe inflict damage on each other. So we hit them for 1. That removes this token. And they hit us for 1. And we can use our water worms, it says, to reduce the damage and lose this ally. So this goes back. We lose advantage next time, but we do resist that wound. Okay, next round. We could get a +1 if we go into melee, but I think we're going to stay at ranged. Hopefully we can take this thing out on this one attack. Let's roll for our crossbow attack then. Is it +0? We've got 11, 12, 13. Now that's a hit. That's a hit, and that does the final piece of damage we needed. Great job. The crossbow has finally come through, and we've defeated the Gold Warriors. Excellent. What a battle. Okay, these are all discarded. And we gain these 2 loot items. We've got an antler comb and a pendant of Tannis. There it is then. Relatively unscathed, I feel. Well, I've gotten to show you pretty much all the elements that I wanted to. I didn't show you shock, did I? So if we had used this gust of sand, I could have used this as a ranged attack. And if I rolled less than or equal to 7, it gets a +1 for every focus I spend, so it wouldn't have been a bad ranged attack. But if I did, I would have taken a wound and a shock. That puts a shock token on us, and indeed you could put this on a foe as well. And then the next time you make a test, combat is a test, you draw a shock card. If it's us making the test, or if it's a test against us, there's a different effect. So this would give us a -1 on the test. So you can see these shock effects will impact the upcoming test. And there's different effects. Gain weakness. Weakness is like mastery. You roll 4 dice instead of 3, but you get rid of the highest die. This one says exhaust a talent. Creature gains weakness on this test. Okay. So different effects, different shock effects. All right. And there we go. That's our adventure. Now, I did promise you before we concluded I would show you the Potions and Preparations expansion set. So let's do that. And then I can carry on my adventure off camera, and you guys can get on and not be spoiled any further with all these clues. So here we go. This is Potions and Preparations. So you've got an animal resource deck, a plant resource deck, and a mineral resource deck. Okay. Now you can see that currently we're in the pony stables where there are animals and plants. There aren't any minerals here. There are minerals. There's minerals up here as well. So you can actually gather all types of resources from here. So let's say we equip one of our heroes with the herbalism pack, which allows them to gather plants. And the herbalism pack, this is the basic one. There's also an upgraded alchemist set on the back. But the basic one says you may gather plants equal to half the number of, is this plant? Herbology. Herbology specialities your hero has rounded up to a minimum of 1. Okay, so if we've got multiple specialities in herbology, let's say we have 3, then we would be able to gather 2 plant cards. Draw the plant cards. We found some cloud moss and some brain mushroom. Okay, and what's important are these icons on the left hand side. And then with these items we can craft say, a potion. So this draft of acidic vomit requires an A type ingredient and a B type. Right, so we've got an A on the cloud moss and a B on the brain mushroom. We could then craft the draft of acidic vomit, which allows us to throw, make a ranged attack, deals 2 damage using this table on the right. Okay, so we've crafted ourselves a wonderful weapon, 3 supplies worth. Of course, the key is having the recipes. So the herbalism pack says you may equip 2 potion recipes with 1 supply each at the start of the adventure. So you choose which recipes you want to begin the game with. And then you'll need to go and search, obviously, for the ingredients you need before you can actually make them. All right, so it's a nice little extra depth to the game. There's different kits that you can have. We've got extra weapons in the expansion as well. So we've got this Edge Sargeras club, a new type of crossbow, Gastrophetes. We've got different outfits as well. So these are outfits that add to your different skills, or your talents rather. Lots and lots of recipes to add all sorts of variability to your heroes. And also a bunch of new cards for the adventure deck, which contain all these different, they're classed as loots, but you've got all these different herbs and lots of different gems, so minerals and plants that you can find actually within the adventure deck. More recipes, and then more talents as well. So we've got brewmaster, herpetology, anatomy, entomology, so all very thematic skill talents, as well as some new weapon talents that match the new crossbow and axe. Got 2 more occupations as well. So you've got a stone scout and an apothecary. So again, they've got lots of different starting items. And also some new locations. So you've got 4 cave locations and 4 new sewer locations to mix into your set, more variability for your Legends Untold adventures. Great stuff. Right, I'm going to clear this up and carry on my adventure. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.